actual problems in my actual life. Now, how does small talk kill us all? Well, it depends on who you are and what your expectations are. We teach different people in society different things. We teach women differently than we teach men. We teach girls different than we teach boys. We teach black folks different than we teach white folks. We teach people who is an acceptable victim and who is not. I read part of an article. I say part of one because I really got my own shit going on and I got stuff that I need to do, but it's important to pay attention to current events. Men are apparently refusing to go back to work. White men in specific. That's not true. It's not white men in specific. It's men, period, in this country. We're not getting anything out of what we're doing. We have no rights. We're told that it's never okay to hit a woman, while the women in our lives are taught that they get one for free. They're allowed to hit a man for free. And if a woman decides that she's going to beat on us for 30 minutes, we're not even allowed to put her away. Not even allowed to push her away. We just have to take the violence. We just have to take the abuse. I remember going to a street dance. There was a woman there smacking the hell out of her husband, yelling at him and screaming at him and berating him. He just took it. Nobody called the cops. No cops showed up to do anything about it. It was a street dance, so there were cops there already. So, I mean, it's something that if it would have been a man doing that, they would have hauled him in immediately. People would say, hey, you guys can't just stand there and watch a woman get hit. But they can sure as shit stand there and watch a man get hit, and nobody's going to give two fucks. So, of course, we got men who don't want to go to work. But this is about autism, believe it or not. And also about how your expectations are false. Autistic folks, when we take a list of what it is that autistic folks want, they want what you have. I don't mean materialistically. I mean the things that you take for granted every day. We have to try to normalize, or you bully us and pick on us. Those of you who feel bad for us, you still try to force us to mask and hide who we are. Between speaking up and saying, hey, he's got Tourette's syndrome, he's not hitting on you, and telling me, hey, you ever think about taking some pills for that? I've been on pills for that. They kill people, stupid. So you got your small talk, right? Now, we live in a world where people are so used to just small talk, they don't know how to anything else in a conversation. Well, except for now we've got people who want to break down every single word in the English language because they feel they're group special. Like we got the LGBT community trying to break apart different words in the English language to mean things that they don't, and to give insinuations about descriptives that are not true. It's a descriptive. If I see a dog, right? I'm trying to find a dog. I'm trying to find a particular dog. I'm trying to find my dog. My dog just happens to be a black dog. My dog also happens to be an odd color because my dog is also a German Shepherd. So it's a black German Shepherd. So when I say black, I'm not trying to be racist towards black dogs. When I say German Shepherd, I'm not trying to insinuate any funny business about German Shepherds. I'm simply trying to find my dog. Then we've got the people who want to get into an argument over that. That's not your dog. It's got its own brain and it thinks for itself. It's its own dog. Okay, well, I'm trying to find my friend who happens to be a black German Shepherd. Oh, well, your friend is a black German Shepherd. Huh, well, that just sounds crazy to me. Well, of course it sounds crazy. That's why I said my dog. That's why I said I'm looking for my dog. But you want to get all sorts of crazy about those descriptives. Now let's say you talk to animals, and of course we know that's a fantasy. I mean, you can communicate with animals, but not literally hold a conversation like you can with a human. You can get pretty close if you pay close attention to their body language. I'm not that good with dogs. But that also takes a really long time to do. Now, when it comes to a descriptive, I understand that you may want to identify as a magic fucking unicorn. Alright? And hear me out on this. I know a lot of different black folks that have different things that they are willing to have used as a descriptive. And black is actually pretty commonplace. That's far more accepted than a lot of the other politically correct stuff we tried to throw out there, because a lot of people who are black, they're not African. They're not. I mean, sure, cradle of life and all that, but reality is they're from Haiti, or they're from the Far East. They're from places like Australia. They could come from anywhere on the planet. Their ancestors could be descended of Europeans, of Greeks, of Egyptians. Now, when we want to go looking for excuses to be angry, when we want to have just small talk, when people want to have to be afraid of addressing real issues because some special group that has been given so many special rights that they think we should give them everything that they want, a tiara and a ballroom and a fucking party every day of the year specifically for them. Now, I have noticed that the majority of the people who have unrealistic expectations of a descriptive or a title happen to come from the LGBT community. I have heard the most abstract expectations of what people want me to call them. Like, all right, you want to be called him or her. You want to wear a special tag now so that we can identify you from everybody else. They did that in Germany too. They had a yellow star that you would have to sew onto your uniform, and it had 4 letters, Jude. Guess what that means? So you get your special title, right? You want to be called a magical unicorn, or you want to identify as what's the something universal galaxy, or the supreme queen of the universe, and all of these other, your descriptive. You don't want to have him or her. That's not acceptable to you. You want to use them or they. Okay, well, that is not overboard. It's not. If you want to be described specifically as a black man, that is your choice to describe yourself that way. And me seeing you go down the street, I don't know how you want to describe yourself. Maybe you want to identify as a purple dinosaur. Well, I'm going to tell you something. If I see you breaking into my fucking car and stealing my shit, or I see you beating somebody up, I don't know that you want to be described as a purple fucking dinosaur. I don't know that you want to be described as them, they. I don't know. What I do know is that if I tell the officers or the dispatch that I just called that it's a black male wearing blue Nikes, wearing a blue parka with a big old Adidas symbol on the back, that's going to be a whole lot of descriptives that help them to narrow down who it is I'm looking for in specific now, isn't it? Skin color and gender, blam, done. There's some people that are just so audaciously out there with the LGBT thing that you're going to automatically be able to tell the officers, yes, it's somebody from the LGBT community. I don't know if they're just a cross-dresser. I don't know what their sexual orientation is. Maybe they're into women, maybe they're into men, maybe they're into plants or friggin' fish. I don't know. What I know is that it is someone who is obviously a male, obviously in a dress, obviously with an Adam's apple. And I don't know if it's post-op or pre-op, or if the person just identifies as a woman but wants to maintain that male equipment, or if it's somebody who's already gotten rid of the male equipment, or if it's somebody who is angry at the world because they feel that the world owes it to them to replace the penis that they have with a vagina, and they're angry at the world, and that's why everything is really sucking for you right now, is because they've got a hate for the world that's got nothing to do with you or your choices, but they're putting it on you because it is somehow your fault. And when I say they, I'm talking about specifically difficult people. Difficult people. The ones that you say, hey, it was a white man in a dress who was here about 30 minutes ago. And here's the floral pattern. It's a white dress. It's got a lot of flowers all over it. They're all pink and red roses, and there's a whole lot of green vines and stuff with thorns on the pattern. Right? So now you're given a good description of... In most places, you don't have to describe what dress a man is wearing, but let's say you're in Boulder, Colorado. There's a good possibility that there are 4 men or 5 men at any given point in time out in public walking around with a full beard and a dress. Okay? So, I mean, it's not like this is something that is commonplace everywhere, but in some places it is. The hatred in Chapel, Nebraska that would get you in good with the people who live there, which is primarily things like hating people of different races, different religions, and different cultures, and also different skin colors and different sexual orientations. Nebraskans, for the most part, are a bigotous lot. If you take one of those Nebraskans who hates homosexuals and hates black people, and mind you, you're going to realize real quick why I am the world's worst Nebraskan and why I don't get along well in Nebraska. But I don't get along well anywhere. I suppose the next video I should make about autism. And often when I make a video and I write down some notes, I'm able to look at my notes and stay on schedule. But most of the time, by the time I'm making a video, I'm having a panic attack and all I can do is speak. I can't go to people and ask them for help more, because if I ask them any more, then I get treated like I'm doing a bad thing by saying, hey, it's been 6 fucking years, asshole. There's a lot that we can do to change the world that we live in, but not when we're busy making excuses. Not when we'll speak out only about the popular cases. Everybody speaks out about George Floyd. Why? Because we were told we were supposed to care, huh? Can I honestly say that I do not care about George Floyd? No, I do care about George Floyd. I do care about the impact. I'm also disturbed and disgusted by the fact that it is such a negative impact for the most victimized people in the country. And that we've got a whole group of people who are turning a blind eye to us, the homeless and the disabled, and telling us we need to go to the back of the bus. We can't go to women for help without having to listen to a whole earful about how horrible it is to be a woman in the United States, and poor them, nobody will listen to them. So after they've offered to help you, it turns out that you're their therapist. So maybe they're helping you by paying you for being their therapist. No, they're not paying you. You're paying them. And we have a lot of expectations in this country from women of things that, how is that expected from us? I see all these things posted up on YouTube and Facebook about what a real man is, what a real man is, what a real man is. We got so many different ideas on what a real man is and what he should be. Like, we got to try to identify ourselves, choose for ourselves, and no matter which direction we choose, we're wrong. We're told that we're wrong. We don't have a voice. Women in my position do have voices. I get to see how my predators, you listened to my predators. You don't know them and you do know me. You know I'm not schizophrenic, and you've stated that I'm not schizophrenic. You know that I've gone to you for help. I've already posted up evidence that I went to you for help. So what gives? Why are you still being sexist? Why are you still being racist? Why are you still telling me to look the other way while I am still fighting for your rights? When I am more at risk than you are because I am homeless, because I am disabled. If the homeless population had an equal size to the black population, well over 99% of the murders committed every year by police in specific would be committed against homeless people. In 2019, homelessness was about 500,000 people in the United States. The population of black folks in the United States was about 60 million. If you're any good at math, or even if you suck at math, but you're able to do the basics, you know that that's 1/120th the population size. Now with only 1/120th the population size of black people, homeless people accounted for over double those killed by police in 2019. We are shat upon by every one of these groups who are screaming for blood. They're screaming for blood from things that we didn't do. I'm being told by black people who want to shove slavery in my face and tell me what I owe them. Those very same black people who are telling me this, which obviously is not all black people. I haven't spoken to every black person, obviously. And not every black person that I know is the same. Just because they share a skin color or a common skin tone or similar skin tones doesn't mean that they have a hive mind. Anything that seems specific to black culture and black society is something that is taught and learned. When you lie to your kids and say we all have an equal chance, and they go spouting that at the victims, just because your kids were lucky enough to grow up in a situation where they didn't get dumped off with nothing. They didn't get dumped off unprepared on the streets with jack shit to start off with. Now you guys get to see how obviously I was trying to get help before Natalie was killed. I was seeing therapists, multiples of them. I was going to my friends for help. I was getting blown off. I was being told all of their problems before they've even tried finding out what's going on. I've got a mouthful of what? A mouthful of my own problems while I'm hearing an earful of theirs. And then, sorry, I'm trying to fish something out of my coffee while I'm trying to pay attention to what I'm talking about. But then, of course, when you've reached out to 200 people for help, and 200 people that you know in person, well, it was probably closer to 100. When 100 people that you have tried to reach out to, who you know in person, you've tried to reach out to them and all of them talk over you. All of them tell you about their personal problems and talk over you and tell you what to do. They still have no clue what's going on. They know that you are calling them for help, but they don't know what help you need because they won't shut up. And when you ask me to keep your bullshit a secret, no, I don't fucking trust you. When you say that you'll help me as long as I don't say your name in public anymore, that doesn't mean in 6 fucking years, asshole. That is an asshole move. You're going to leave it open-ended. You're going to waste days of my time, and in the end, you're not going to keep your word. You've shown that for the last 6 years. So when I'm trying to do you a favor and give you the benefit of the doubt, I already did that. I did that by not posting up all of our conversations on day fucking 1. And that's not because I didn't want to. That's not something I wanted to have to do, but it is something that I had to do because you didn't come forward. There were a lot of people that were closer to the situation than many of you I'm posting up about now. But despite that, I did go to you for help. And what did you do? How did you treat me? How did you behave when somebody who is a male, who is a victim, came to you for help? When it comes to small talk and autism, it's exhausting to talk about the weather. It's exhausting when I have to care about what you guys care about, and you guys care about superficial and trivial shit. I don't give a fuck about Louis Vuitton. I don't. Louis Vuitton is so far out of my fucking life, with the exception of I know people who that's what's important to them. Their Louis Vuitton, their fashion sense. Oh, I love your fashion sense. Jesus Christ, how about your work ethic? Men are tired of getting shat on for being the good guys. We're tired of seeing women throw themselves at the biggest assholes on the planet. And then, of course, in order to give a decent dude a chance, it's either A, she's hoping to jump into another relationship immediately because she can't cover expenses, or B, she got pregnant by the son of a bitch who keeps beating her up, and she wants a decent dude to raise the kid. And how many times I've seen that happen, and there are so many different people with different natures. There's, of course, one lady that I knew from Starbucks that she worked really, really, really hard. And that's how she believes that she's eventually going to make it somewhere in this world is by working really super hard and ignoring everything else in the world. You know, if you ignore all of your friends, eventually you're going to need them, but they're not going to be there for you because you were too busy. You were too busy pretending to be a friend, but also too busy to actually maintain a friendship or do friend things. For me, it's not a matter of having a friendship or maintaining a friendship with you anymore. You've already shown that you don't care. You've already shown that even the threat of me posting it up on the internet, you know, that's not something that I ever wanted to do. What I wanted is for you guys to make it easier on yourselves and a lot fucking easier on me by simply coming forward and telling the truth. Before Natalie died, there was no reason for you guys to have to go public with it. You could have simply gone in with me, as if I was any other Joe Blow. Go in with me and help me to turn it in. But after Natalie was killed, and none of you had helped try that, well, then it was too late for you to hide who you are and what you were doing. Because at that point, I had to show that I went to you for help. I had to show how you treated me. How you, who claimed to be my friends, gave me the mentally ill treatment. Blew me off. I explained to you that I'm getting treated like someone who's schizophrenic. You admit that I'm not schizophrenic. So why it is you couldn't speak up? Why couldn't you simply tell the truth? You talk about social change, but then when there's victims that you know, you want to look the other way. If these are your friends, why would you make them do desperate things to get your attention? Now, there's another lady who worked at Starbucks, and she's got a different philosophy on life. Her name is Becca. And she, of course, wanted friends on Facebook to make her look popular. She told me to send her a friend request, and she told me this quite a few times. I was not interested. So, one day, as she's telling me to do it, I did. I sent her a friend request, and she accepted it. Now, she has literally never, ever, in the history of being my friend, ever sent a message back. It's because she's a selfish person who doesn't care about anyone. It was a matter of popularity. It was a matter of other people in the Starbucks were friends with me on Facebook. It was a popular thing to do. But also, Becca, her plan, and she was unashamed about it. Jesus, fuck. All right. Anyway, she was unashamed about it, but her idea was that she was going to find a rich man and get married, and, you know, she wouldn't have to work. And she actually got what she wanted. She actually, well, she had to do a lot of superficial stuff. She's a very, how do I explain this without insulting somebody? She's Hispanic, straight up. Maybe some Italian ancestry, but she's definitely Hispanic. Dark hair, dark eyes. But she, of course, does not like the sunlight. She wants to make herself out to be at least a blonde-haired white girl. She bleaches her hair very, very super bleachy blonde. And she got her rich husband. Of course, it's all superficial, you know. She didn't marry for love. She married for money. Now that's two very different people at the Starbucks. Two very different people who are on my friends list. Two very different people. With Becca, I already know her content and character. When she doesn't answer, doesn't reply, I already know she's not going to. She doesn't give a fuck about anybody but herself. But the other one, she tries to put on this persona that she cares about others. That's what I like about Becca. She doesn't pretend to give a fuck about me. She didn't pretend that she wanted me to send a friend request because she wanted to be friends. She has not given me a single indication on Facebook or in Facebook Messenger actually considered us actual friends. So why is it the Becca lot doesn't get called out like everybody else? Well, first of all, she was honest with her content of character. Second of all, she didn't ammo dump on me when I asked her for help. You show who and what you care about based on who you make time for and what you make time for. When somebody needs help and you make the time to talk over them, to tell them about all of your problems, you're already assuming that your problems are worse than theirs are. And you're already assuming that, well, all sorts of things that are definitely unfriend-like, which would make them unfriendly, which is the opposite of friendly, which doesn't make much sense if you're supposedly friends. Fair-weather friends are not your friends. When they're only your friends when things are looking good or when you can do things for them, they ain't your friends. If they want to make you empty promises in exchange for you taking down the truth, they're not going to keep their word. They're not going to keep their promises. If they were going to keep their promises, they'd have done so already. That's the thing about 6 years. When it's been 6 years and you want to tell me every time that you're gonna, I just got to be patient for 3 more days and then you will. And in 3 days you still haven't. When you say, hey, I'll call you tomorrow, and tomorrow you haven't. And you keep doing that. And I try to get a hold of you so that I can communicate effectively. But really, by the time you get back to me, you've ignored quite a bit of what I've said and what I've typed. You're not going to go back and look at it. You're not going to go back and listen to it. Out of Becca, I don't expect anything out of her. She didn't give me any empty promises or any pretenses or falsehoods about our friendship. These other people did. There's a lot of abuse that I took while I was at Starbucks, but not actually in the Starbucks. And although the folks in Starbucks, if they actually cared about me, would have cared about that and would have done something. And several of them, when I was having a rough time, they asked me about it. And I let them know when they said, is there something I can do? And I let them know. And I get stuff like, well, that's against Starbucks policy to get involved. Or, I got my finals this week, but after finals I can. And then after finals, they just never show up. That's the thing about a lot of the folks at Starbucks. They were working hard. Many of them were working at Starbucks while going to school. A lot of people, they got this thing where they realize shit's getting worse here in America. They got to get something going for themselves, and that's what's screwing them in the long run. Now, Becca, maybe she's going the historical and culturally Hispanic route and making a family. Maybe she's having kids with that guy, kind of like I guess you can consider it similar to an arranged marriage in Europe in the 17 and 1800s. You're not really marrying for love, you're marrying for what the other person has, and you're to live with it. Between being with a man that you love and learning to live with the fact that you can eat every night, that you can go to bed in a warm bed every night, that you can go out if you have a vehicle that's busted down, you don't have to prostitute yourself out. You don't gotta, well, that, I guess, you guys can get down to dirty politics on that. Those of you who want to argue in opposition, I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong because I see your point. However, what I'm referring to is how society looks at it. Sure, she's a gold digger, but she's not a prostitute. She's not selling herself out there for blow. She's not drowning out her problems in booze and alcohol. And she might be. That's often just an assumption, isn't it? The world changes and we make it change. I speak knowing that I probably won't be heard. I speak knowing that my friends are only going to pretend to care. And that the things that they told me between coming forward and doing the honorable thing and forcing me to post it on YouTube and Facebook, they're going to force me to post it on YouTube and Facebook. If we make an agreement and I keep my side of the deal, you're still not going to keep yours. Now, there's a lady who is going to help, and for several days now, I've been waiting for her call. She was going to call, she was going to call, she was going to call, she didn't call, she didn't call, she didn't call, she hasn't called. I sent her a message to explain the situation, like, hey, I can't just go in and do any of these other things that I need done until you and I have actually spoken to each other and formulated a damn battle plan. This whole texting for weeks on end, months on end, and years on end, and getting absolutely nowhere. Well, if you can take the time to message me for an hour, you can take the time to listen. You can take the time for us to effectively communicate, for me to tell you what the roadblocks are. If you want to argue about what the roadblocks are, that's counterproductive. I'm not asking you to believe everything that I say. I'm already sending you evidence that's proof that I'm telling the truth. Those of you who I went to for help before Natalie died, you know, your excuses for not helping are your own. However, what the cops said is different from the truth. The lies that the cops told that have been used to harm me. Well, our messages on Facebook and on YouTube and our phone calls showed that the narrative that they sold was not only a lie, but that it was intentional. Also, the evidence from me shows that well before Natalie was killed, well before I ever went to Virginia, matter of fact, since the very beginning of my Facebook, I've been speaking up and speaking out about these tactics and how they're used against the homeless. There's a lot of men out here who, when they first became homeless, they had a job. They were told to go all these resources that'll help them. Now, unlike me, who gets disability money to run around and do this stuff, well, they had to try to run around and do this stuff on the money that they were getting from their job. Now, that money could have been used for first month's and last month's rent, but when you're homeless, You don't ever get to save up first and last month's rent because everything is so much more expensive out here. You want to talk about the free food? Well, it's difficult to go to the 4 o'clock feed when you don't get off work until 5. There's also the fact that even if you're out here and you don't have a job, you still have to spend gas to go to that place. And if there are dangerous people at that place who seek to do you and others harm, primarily, as you guys have probably seen from my videos, they pick people in the homeless community, as well as the police. They pick people who are called mentally ill because nobody listens to them and nobody cares. And we've shown that time and again. I need help turning these crimes in that are committed against others as well as against me. And you tell me to forget about these others, I can't. They're victims too, of the same predators by name as me in many of these situations. It shows motive and intent and a pattern of violence by my predators. But if they want to twist my words to pretend that I'm threatening them, somehow that's magically okay. Well, it's not. There's people who are actually dead, and your cowardice as a friend is the primary reason for all of it. Your selfishness. When you tell somebody that they're your friend, especially when it's an at-risk adult, and you look the other way, when you allow somebody who is being victimized to be called schizophrenic and treated like they're schizophrenic and have their rights denied because predators that they tried to turn in and tried to tell you about want to pretend that they're schizophrenic. Yes, the least that you can do if you are a good person is tell the world who is harming that person that, hey, he's not schizophrenic. He did come to me for help. And the narrative that you guys are hurting him over is a fucking lie. But whether or not you're a good person is apparently dependent upon whether or not the victim is the same color as you or the same gender as you. And depending on the crime committed, apparently it's wrong to rape somebody, but we will turn away from the victims based on their skin color or gender, right? Like if it's rape, men aren't allowed to be victims. They're not allowed to speak out. A woman is always right and the man is always wrong. A woman could never commit a sex crime. That's kind of like the idea that when the police want to beat up on somebody, they only pick on black people or exclusively black people or even primarily black people, because that ain't the case either. The only black people the public cares about are the ones who are not homeless. Y'all are killing my friends, and I'm not okay with it. I'm not going to pretend that it's not happening just because you want to be an asshole. I didn't make you that way. I didn't make you pretend to care about people that you don't care about. When somebody comes to you for help, the least that you can do if you're a friend is make the time for them. But if it's not small chit-chat or talking about selfish bullshit that doesn't make a goddamn bit of difference, when it interrupts your partying and your drinking, well, yeah, then you can't be bothered. Even if it leads to your friend dying. Even if it leads to your friend being victimized over and over and over again, all because you were too much of a coward to tell the truth. God bless America, right?